Well, I will say this. Look, there is a lot of stuff coming this fall, but one of the other things that I'm also really excited about is another show that you are on, and a show that you probably should have been on more last year because, as you saw, you won a couple of the leagues. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Swinton is one of the also one of the hosts of Let's Talk Fantasy Football coming this fall, and we're gonna go move into this segment. Before we do, we definitely want to preview this show they got going on. So take a look at this. Yeah, buddy, man, I'm telling you, man, all these little clips and everything, man. Just like on Andrew's show, man. I'm just bobbing, like, yeah, I love this. This is so.
Every time.
The girls show clips, talking about the girls show are, they're so good.
I'm not gonna showcase those yet. 'Cause those are fire, absolutely. Yo, and Ash, well, you were the one who created that one right there for the fantasy football show. You are amazing. That, yeah, you do. Look,
You're
there you
the
go.
inspiration behind it all, Andrew. So
Yeah,
props to you.
absolutely, absolutely. We saw what you did, and we are like, wait a minute, we gotta step our game up. This dude is
That's
doing big
cool.
things. Yeah, I'm like, dang, I love this, man. I just want to sit here in the waiting room for a while. Let me just do, but let's get into it. Fit, you guys do have the Sunday show, the fantasy football show with David Wright. We talked last week about who we thought was, good pickups this year.
Sophomore surges last week. Yep.
Right. So this week we're going to talk about fantasy football players that you should avoid or potential busts with the Swintons. What are you guys looking at this year?
You want to go position and just go?
No, I'm gonna let you go with your list, and then I'm gonna go with my list.
Fine. Here's my list. I went by position, so I have like 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. So my quarterbacks, speaking of Kyler Murray, he's one of mine that I will be avoiding just because I feel like when people get paid, here comes our downward.
Yep.
And last year with his injuries, no Hopkins, I think, is going to expose him just a little bit because, I mean, you can't be like the he's down there somewhere.
Right.
When he's not down there somewhere. So Kyler Murray is probably one that I'll be avoiding. And this is just based on their like average draft position. I'm not saying like Kyler Murray's a terrible quarterback. And if he's available past what he would normally go at, that you shouldn't get him. But this is just for based on where they're projected to be drafted. I don't think they're worth it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's my quarterback. I don't know that I had
I thought you said 2 quarterbacks.
I know.
Did you Aaron
Rodgers is another one that I think is going too high just because he doesn't have the weapon he did last year, and I'm not going to go too much into that, but just Devontae Adams went bye-bye. I don't think Rodgers is pretty high, and I don't like it, so I'm probably going to avoid him and his COVID toe.
You don't think that the rookie wide receiver is
Christian
gonna?
Watson.
Christian Watson. You don't think he's gonna?
I mean, he's not Devontae Adams. So
Oh, yeah. Well,
Devontae Adams is the best wide receiver in the league, arguably. Is that because of Aaron Rodgers? Probably. But I mean, you can't take away all of it from Devontae Adams. Like,
wait, real quick, would you like to speak on that, Sydney? The best in the league?
I don't see. This is why I didn't want to say it.
I mean, I'm just saying that's pretty definite what you said. The best. I mean, he's good. I don't know if he had a triple threat.
I said he was the best, and you said no, he's not. Last week, literally last week.
He was my number 1 wide receiver on my wide receiver list. So calm down. Anyway, those are my 2 quarterbacks that I'm not too high on when they get picked up. My wide receivers are Amari Cooper. Because the Deshaun Watson thing is very unknown. Yep. Amari Cooper has now they have another quarterback in Cleveland. So Amari Cooper's now had to been shuffled around like 3 quarterbacks at this point. It's just very unknown, and I don't like it. I think Amari Cooper's very talented. It's just the quarterback situation makes me want to avoid Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that one.
Betty wishes he was back in Dallas.
Yeah. But I'm not even gonna go there. It hurts me. Waddle, I think, is getting drafted too high. Just because, I mean, there's a lot of new pieces there, so I don't know how Waddle's going to fit into the system. I think he's going to have a sophomore slump, not a surge. So that's one of mine. I think Allen Robinson's going too high for what he is. Michael Thomas, just avoid at all costs. He's a bum.
I thought you said 2 receivers. This is like 6.
Yeah, I know. Right. I have more. Michael Thomas is the biggest bum. I can't even go. That's another personal.
Yeah, I was about to say, has there been any news about him? I haven't heard anything.
He's just hurt all the time, and he doesn't do what he needs to do. He's on the pup list. He just got moved to the pup list. So same thing with like Hopkins. I'm gonna avoid Hopkins probably until especially. I mean, if I was in like a dynasty, maybe not, but like redraft purposes, I'm not gonna. He's gonna be out half my fantasy season. Why would I bother? AJ Brown's a big no for me because Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback. Andrew knows that AJ Brown's a big no for me. I drafted AJ Brown before he got traded, and the second he got traded, I think I was on the draft show live. Anybody offer me anybody. So I got a Cowboys player for it.
CD.
I got CD.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
Like a pick or something. I don't know. But those are wide receivers I'm avoiding. Just fun fact, Eagles players are blacklisted from my fantasy altogether, which brings me to running backs. I will not be getting Miles Sanders. Please don't let Miles Sanders drop to
Miles Sanders.
Anybody.
The forgotten running back in Philly.
Yes, which shouldn't have been forgotten because he's really talented.
Andrew says he's loving AJ Brown. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I play Andrew and AJ Brown has like a 60-point game, I will literally cry.
What could have been?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to go fast because my list is longer than I thought. My running backs I'm avoiding are Miles Sanders and James Conner. I'm just anti-Cardinals players this season, I guess. James Conner was like the touchdown king last year. I just don't think he'd do that again. Cordero Patterson, I think, super outperformed his expectations last year, and I don't think he does that again. I think he'll go back to kind of what I don't know. He came out of nowhere, did really great, and I just don't foresee him doing that again. That's just my opinion.
I love the analysis. I just don't see it happening.
Well, because I think it was really shocking he did it last year. So I feel like most of the guys that have like those big oh wow, that was unexpected and amazing, don't always repeat that because it was an outlier to their career. You get what I'm saying? Like some players just have that peak year and then they never do that again. I feel like he's going to be one of those guys. This is my opinion.
I know.
Throw this out there.
And it's more of if he falls to you, then that's great. But I wouldn't draft. I think his fantasy it boosted up over just because of last season, and that's my opinion. I wouldn't not take him. I don't think he's going to be terrible. I wouldn't not take him if he fell to me later on, but I'm not going to take him as high as what they're projecting him to go.
That's your
opinion.
And
then my tight ends that are going way too high for me are Waller and Knox.
Waller, really?
Mm-hmm. It's just too high. And this is another thing that this is your fault. I don't value tight ends as much as maybe other people do. It's your fault because I didn't start doing fantasy football until 3 years ago. So I kind of was like, well, what do you do? And I'm just what do you do? Because then I'll kind of just do that. And
so I'm the reason she won 2 leagues last year. So, you just heard it.
No, that's not
it's on camera. Let's go. Let's go. It's there. Clip it.
No, I feel like I adapted some of your strategy just by watching you.
That's what you said.
And I value quarterbacks more than you do. So it's not all you. But tight ends, I get to the later rounds and I'm like, oh snap, I don't have a tight end. So I just I'm probably not gonna take Pitts, Waller, Andrews, those like Kelsey, Kittle, those guys that are going very early because I just don't value tight ends like that.
No. I think I took him in the first pick of our dynasty league this year, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Oh, you took Derrick Henry.
I took Henry first.
I think, or no, did you take Henry?
Yes, because I was right behind you.
Did you take Kelsey second?
Yeah, I picked Kelsey second back around.
Yeah, but Kelsey's is just like on a different level too. So depending on where your draft position is, it's not a bad idea to take him.
I was behind Sid and David. That's when
you
were working that day.
David was before me, and then you were behind me. Yep. All right, now
that's my list.
Your list of 37 people is done. Let me go ahead and move on.
Get tired of Phil. You just.
I like to talk.
I only have 5, so.
Well, that's fine. If you want an in-depth analysis of my opinion on fantasy, you need to come this way. That's not enough people.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give a reason, not just. I just don't think so.
No, yeah, I gave a reason.
So you're gonna love the first one. I can't wait for you to pop off about this. Again, this is just based off their average draft position. I wouldn't take them where they're being drafted.
That was my reason.
I know. I'm gonna give a reason as to why though. The number 1 is Aaron Jones. He's going in the first 2 rounds in most drafts. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 running back halfway through the season. I think A.J. Dillon is more talented than him and is going to take over that role. I said it on Andrew's show. My feelings haven't changed in the last 2 days. So I think Aaron Jones in the first 2 rounds being like a number 1 running back isn't what I would do personally. Yeah. So, I mean, if he's there in 3, 4, or 5, that's good value. But based off of the first 2 rounds, this is what I would say.
Your opinions are not any more in-depth than what mine were.
Yes, my opinion is because A.J. Dillon is better than Aaron Jones.
I had a reason why Kyler Murray was not going to be great. And then my list was very long, so then I had to get through it.
And then after Aaron Jones, I think Kyle Pitts is being taken way too early, especially for the production he had last year. And he's getting a worse quarterback than last year. I just don't understand why Kyle Pitts is going so high. It just doesn't make sense to me. He's going in the first 3 rounds, usually round 3-ish, sometimes round 2, sometimes he'll get to 4, but I wouldn't touch him in the first 4 rounds. It just doesn't make sense to me that Kyle Pitts is going that high. He scored all of 2 touchdowns last year with a much better quarterback than he's going to have this year. Sure, they're going to lean on him more, maybe, but they were leaning on him last year with a better quarterback, and they still couldn't get him the ball and produce enough. So
they just couldn't score.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me why he's going where he is. So he's definitely somebody that I'm not drafting probably in any league just because he's going to go way before I think he's where he's valued at. This one will surprise both of you because I never do this. Deontay Johnson. I most likely am not going to be taking Deontay Johnson this year because he's going to be viewed as the number 1 weapon in Pittsburgh. There's a few reasons as to why I'm not taking Deontay Johnson because of where he's going. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 option this year. Ben loved Deontay and would force feed Deontay, which boosted his stats and made him very valuable in PPR and everything in fantasy-wise. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think it's going to be more spread out. We have a lot more weapons with George Pickens and Calvin Austin on our draft pick.
Right.
Pat Freiermuth in his second year and new quarterbacks in the system that aren't going to force feed Deontay. So I think his value is going to be a lot lower than where he's being drafted. I most likely will not have Deontay in any leagues this year.
I think if Deontay
honestly, if you don't have Najee, you don't have anybody. I mean, him or Freiermuth on that offense. Najee had 80% of your all's offense from a year ago.
Almost basically. I don't mind Claypool because he's going so much later. So much later. I think and I think he's going to be a big target for either Mitch or Kenny Pickett because he's the go up and get it guy. And if they utilize him the right way, he's going to be good in that role. Deontay is just a possession guy, great route runner and stuff.
Gotcha.
Obviously, he needs to work on his hands still. He got better last year, but I think you can say whatever you want. He dropped 3 passes in the playoffs. So
that's the only time he drops.
That's the only time it matters. That's the only time it matters. Get out of here. Anyway, this is my list. So
put your hand in my face one more time.
I think.
Oh,
Wait
a minute.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be as valuable in fantasy as he was. There's just too many. There's more weapons this year with a it's not going to be as heavy of a passing offense. So I think he's overvalued right now. Another one that I don't understand why is going so high, top 3 rounds, Travis Etienne, the running back for Jacksonville. Didn't play it down last year because of an injury, but everybody's like, he's the number 1 running back. James Robinson produces. He's absolutely been a stud there.
Yes,
they love him in the locker room. They were crying that he wasn't getting the ball enough at the end of the season. They're like, Trevor Lawrence came out and said, we need to get James Robinson the ball more. The fact that he said that, and it's a new coaching staff, and he's produced 2 years in a row, and Etienne's coming off an injury. You can get James Robinson in the 12th round or Etienne in the 3rd round. I'm taking James Robinson every day, all day, twice on Sundays. The value is insane because of that. Even if they're split carries, James Robinson all day. Like, I don't know why it's even a conversation. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm avoiding Travis Etienne in the first 3 rounds. You got to prove it to me before you deserve a top 3 pick. And then after that, the last one is also might surprise you guys. I think Patrick Mahomes is going too high. He's usually drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round. I think he's having a down year after losing Tyreek. I don't think he's going to have a bad year. If you have I have Patrick Mahomes in my dynasty league. I'm not benching him this year. I just don't think he's going to be valuable as a 2nd or 3rd round pick this year. I don't think he's going to be in the top 4 fantasy quarterbacks. He might not even be in the top 6 fantasy quarterbacks, not the talent-wise in the league, just fantasy purposes, because their team's going to look a lot different this year. And so I don't think I'm not touching Mahomes in the first 3 rounds. I usually don't touch quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds anyway, but Mahomes this year I think is a little overvalued for what I think is going to happen, losing Tyreek and everything like that.
Would you recommend somebody getting them early and then using them as a potential trade bait?
Trade bait is always, trade bait's always a thing. If you know somebody likes Mahomes or, Pitts or, literally anybody, if you have a fan of that team, you can usually get them value as trade bait. I don't like using my first 3 or 4 picks in a fantasy draft as trade bait. Those are usually my cement players for the team, for like my season. So those are the guys that I'm trying to like win a fantasy league with. So I'm not thinking usually trade bait there. If you get to the 5th round and like Mahomes is somehow there, it's like, you got to take him. You can't pass him up like that late, but just using a 2nd or 3rd on them, I think it's just too early.
I think like when you're doing trade bait, it's like when you're drafting and then you're like, oh, there's a lot of good wide receivers still available, but I already have good wide receivers. It's like, well, I'll just take one anyway, and then I'll just try to trade it later because I'm stacked at wide receiver now. I got like 5 wide receivers when I don't need all these guys, but I'm lacking a quarterback. That's what he'll stack up on running backs, and then no one will have any good running backs because he just took them all. And you got like a decent quarterback, then he's like knocking on your door like, hey, I see you have a quarterback that I need, and I see you don't have any running backs. So people do that too. He did that in Dynasty.
Oh yeah. That's what
then I'm like, here he goes. And you put that trade in, and who'd you get? Like Aaron Rodgers?
I did get
Aaron Rodgers. Got Aaron, and I was like, don't do it. And then I saw the trade go through, and I'm like, you're joking me. This happens to you every time.
She's so
strategy. Hey, Swinton strategy.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Boom. There it is.
Thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.